chosen one, stop scrolling right now and listen carefully, because what I am about to tell you is not motivational, it is not symbolic, and it is definitely not random. You did not find this message by accident. Something has already happened behind the scenes, something that took place in realms most people will never see, and the only reason you are hearing this now is because the moment has arrived for you to know. This is confirmation. This is exposure, and for certain people watching you, this is absolute panic. You have felt it lately, haven't you? That strange shift, the sense that eyes are on you even when no one is around. The feeling that conversations are happening about you that you were never invited into. You may not have had proof, but your spirit knew. What you didn't know is how far it went. What you didn't expect is that your enemies crossed a line they can never uncross. This is not a metaphor. This is not poetic language. This is literal. Someone who resents you, someone who has been watching you quietly, someone who could not understand why you keep surviving things that should have destroyed you, took your photo. Not to admire it, not to celebrate you, but to expose you. They believed that if your image was examined by higher authority, it would finally confirm what they wanted to believe about you. That you are nothing special, that you are overrated, that you don't deserve protection, favor, or survival. They were wrong, and this is where everything changed. You see, your silence confused them. Your restraint irritated them. The fact that you didn't retaliate when you had every reason to made them deeply uncomfortable. They expected emotional reactions. They expected collapse. They expected you to self-destruct publicly so they could point and say, "See, we were right." But you didn't give them that. You stayed quiet. You pulled back. You chose dignity over destruction, and that decision triggered something they never anticipated. They thought your silence meant weakness. They thought your restraint meant defeat. So they escalated. They went looking for validation beyond human opinion. They wanted confirmation from somewhere higher, somewhere final, somewhere authoritative, and through channels they should never have accessed, they presented your photo to an angel. Let that sink in. Your image was examined in a realm where masks don't work, where reputations don't matter, where lies dissolve instantly. A realm that sees essence, not performance, frequency, not narratives. They expected condemnation. They expected judgment. They expected agreement with their bitterness. They were confident heaven would echo their criticism. But the moment the angel focused on your image, everything stopped. There was no debate, no analysis, no hesitation. Recognition was immediate, automatic, the kind of recognition that doesn't come from curiosity but from memory, from authority recognizing authority, from light recognizing light. The angel did not ask questions. The angel did not seek clarification. The angel did not need context. What was seen in you was unmistakable. And what happened next is the part they cannot stop replaying in their minds. Instead of rejection, the angel responded with reverence. Not acknowledgement, not neutrality, reverence. A response reserved only for souls carrying markings that cannot be fabricated, learned or earned through performance. Markings that come from origin, from assignment, from purpose established long before you were aware of it. Your enemies thought they were submitting evidence against you. Instead, they handed your identity to someone who already knew who you were. And that single moment shattered everything they thought they understood about you. Because when an angel recognizes someone, it doesn't just stay an observation. It triggers consequences. It initiates protocols. It changes jurisdictions. Your enemies didn't just fail in their attempt to expose you. They exposed themselves. They revealed their own blindness, their own ignorance, their own misunderstanding of the level you operate on. They expected heaven to agree with them. Heaven didn't even consult them. What terrified them wasn't just the recognition. It was what they realized immediately after. That they had misjudged you completely. That they had been attacking someone who was never unprotected. That the reason their plans kept failing wasn't luck, coincidence, or timing. It was oversight. It was coverage. It was restraint backed by authority. And here is the part you need to understand clearly. The angel did not see your mistakes the way humans do. The angel did not see your struggles as flaws. What was seen was your restraint, your endurance, your refusal to become what tried to break you. That moment when you could have destroyed someone with words, exposure, or retaliation, and you chose silence instead. That moment echoed louder in higher realms than anything you have ever said out loud. Your enemies never expected that choice to matter, but it did. It mattered so much that it changed how you are now seen. It changed how you are handled. It changed how attacks against you are processed. And what the angel did after that moment is something your enemies pray you never fully understand. Because the bow was only the beginning. What happened next is the reason their strategies stopped working, their confidence collapsed, and their certainty turned into fear. And if you feel like the atmosphere around your life has shifted recently, like something invisible but powerful is now moving in your favor, it's because it has. Stay with me. Because once you understand what the angel did instead of condemning you, you will never see your past, your enemies, or yourself the same way again. There was a moment in your life that didn't look important to anyone else, but it echoed through realms you cannot see. A moment so quiet, so internal, that no one applauded you for it, no one rewarded you, no one even noticed. But heaven did. It was the moment you chose restraint when retaliation was fully justified. The moment you stayed silent when speaking would have given you power. The moment you walked away when destruction would have made sense. That single decision revealed more about who you are than anything you have ever accomplished publicly. You didn't stay silent because you were weak. You stayed silent because something inside you refused to become small just to feel powerful for a moment. You felt the anger. You felt the injustice. You knew you had the evidence, the words, the leverage to expose them completely. And your enemies saw it too. They expected you to react. They waited for your explosion. They prepared themselves for a version of you that would validate everything they wanted to believe. But it never came. Instead, you pulled back. And that confused them. To people who operate from ego, silence looks like surrender. To people who survive by manipulation, dignity looks like defeat. They mistook your restraint for fear. They mistook your composure for collapse. They assumed you were powerless because you didn't perform your pain publicly. What they couldn't see is that restraint is a frequency, and frequency is everything in higher realms. Angels do not recognize reputation. They do not respond to rumors, labels, or narratives crafted by wounded people. Angels recognize frequency. They read essence. They see alignment. They detect origin. And your frequency was shaped through tests that most people never survive without losing themselves. The first test was collapse without permission to quit. Everything fell apart at once. Not gradually, not gently, all at the same time. Your stability, your confidence, your sense of direction. You lost things you worked hard for. People you trusted disappeared. The future you imagined dissolved in front of you. And the worst part wasn't the loss. It was the silence afterward. No rescue, no explanation, no reassurance, just pressure. Anyone watching from the outside would have understood if you gave up. You had every logical excuse. You had reasons. You had justification. But something inside you refused to surrender even when hope felt irrational. You kept moving without clarity. You kept showing up without motivation. You survived days you never thought you'd make it through. That endurance forged a frequency angels recognize instantly. The refusal to surrender when everything collapses is not human strength. It is alignment. The second test was integrity under pressure. You were forced to choose between what was easy and what was right. One option would have relieved your stress, stabilized your situation, made life smoother. But it required you to compromise something sacred inside you. The other option was painful, lonely, uncertain, but it allowed you to remain honest with yourself. You chose the harder path, not because it was dramatic, but because you couldn't betray who you are just to survive comfortably. That choice cost you. You felt it. You questioned it. You wondered if you were foolish, but you never regretted it at your core. Because even in loss, you kept your identity intact. And identity preservation under pressure is another frequency angels recognize immediately. Many people succeed by abandoning themselves. You refused. The third test was persistence without evidence. You kept going when nothing confirmed you were on the right path. No validation, no encouragement, no visible progress. Days turned into months, months turned into years. People assumed you were stuck, delusional, or unrealistic. They told you to be practical, to let go, to accept less, but something deeper than logic kept pulling you forward. You couldn't explain it. You just knew stopping would be wrong, even if continuing felt pointless. That kind of persistence is rare, not persistence fueled by optimism, but persistence fueled by inner knowing. Angels recognize that frequency because it mirrors how higher realms operate. Truth doesn't require immediate proof. Alignment doesn't need applause. These three tests weren't punishments. They were evaluations. They stripped away ego, dependency, and illusion until only your essence remained. That is what the angel saw when your image was examined. Not your mistakes, not your struggles, not the version of you shaped by trauma. What was seen was someone who endured collapse without surrender, chose integrity over convenience, and persisted without evidence. That combination is unmistakable. Human judgment looks at outcomes. Celestial authority looks at orientation. Humans ask, "What have you achieved?" Angels ask, "What do you operate from?" And what you operate from cannot be faked. It is revealed only under pressure. So when recognition happened, it wasn't condemnation. It wasn't scrutiny. It was confirmation. Confirmation that you are not ordinary. Not because you are superior, but because you are aligned. And alignment triggers protection. It activates coverage. It initiates authority. You were never being judged. You were being identified. And once identification occurs, everything changes. From the moment recognition took place, something around you shifted permanently. Not emotionally, not psychologically, but structurally. Protection was activated in a way that does not announce itself, does not make noise, and does not need your permission to operate. It is already in motion. That is why certain attacks no longer land. That is why situations that once drained you now dissolve before they fully form. You are not imagining this. You are no longer operating under the same rules you used to. What was activated around you functions like an intelligent boundary. It doesn't just block harm, it observes intent. Anyone who directs negativity toward you, speaks against you in secret, plans interference, or carries envy in their heart without acting on it yet, is detected before they ever reach you. And instead of you having to fight, explain, or defend yourself, something else takes over. This is where your enemies are becoming confused, because the energy they send toward you no longer reaches you cleanly. It turns around, quietly, precisely, proportionally. What they intended for your downfall begins showing up in their own lives as obstacles, delays, losses, and tension they can't explain. Conversations turn against them. Support disappears. Plans unravel. Not dramatically, not publicly, but consistently. This isn't revenge. It's balance. A mirror effect that educates without you lifting a finger. You may have noticed it already. People who spoke badly about you suddenly struggling. People who tried to block you now block themselves. People who underestimated you now facing resistance everywhere they turn. Meanwhile, you feel steadier, calmer, less reactive. Even when your circumstances aren't fully resolved yet, something inside you knows you're safe. That sense of safety didn't come from logic. It came from coverage. And there are signs confirming this is active right now. You are experiencing timing that feels almost scripted. Thinking about something and encountering it within hours. Needing help and receiving it from an unexpected place. Numbers repeating in your environment. Conversations answering questions you never asked out loud. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Reality is being adjusted around you to keep you aligned and aware. Another sign is separation. People who once had constant access to you are fading out without confrontation. No arguments, no drama, just distance. It feels natural, even if it's bittersweet. That's not loss, that's clearing. Space is being made for what's next. You may also notice your nervous system calming. Less anxiety, better sleep, more clarity. Even with unresolved challenges, you're not spiraling the way you used to. That's not you getting used to pain. That's regulation, restoration. You are being stabilized for what's coming, and what's coming has a window. The next phase begins unfolding within the next 2 to 3 months. Not all at once, not explosively, but unmistakably. Opportunities that were blocked begin moving. Financial relief shows up in ways that don't require struggle. Connections align that feel effortless instead of forced. You won't have to chase. Things will find you. This is where wisdom becomes essential. As your life starts improving, you will feel the urge to talk about it, to explain, to share, to finally be seen. Resist that urge. Silence is still part of your protection. The same restraint that triggered recognition is the discipline that will sustain your expansion. Not everyone deserves access to your progress. Not everyone is meant to hear your plans. There are still people watching who do not wish you well. They can't stop what's coming, but they can interfere if you make it easy for them. Move quietly. Let results speak. Let changes become visible without explanation. This is not about hiding, it's about maturity. Chosen ones don't announce transitions, they embody them. If you are noticing at least a few of these signs happening already, acknowledge it. You don't need to prove anything. Just recognize it. You can write 999 in the comments as a signal not to me but to yourself that you are aware something has shifted. And if this message resonates deeply, if it feels like it's naming things you've lived through rather than predicting fantasies, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. What's coming next requires understanding, not excitement. Awareness, not hype. The next message will explain how opportunities now find you differently, and why effort alone will no longer be the way forward. Before you leave, understand this clearly. Your life is no longer governed by the same limitations it once was. You are not trying to survive anymore. You are being positioned. The pressure you endured wasn't meant to crush you. It was meant to qualify you. The rules have changed, and from here forward, what once worked against you will work for you.